Welcome to Better with Art. I'm Melinda, and I'm here to encourage you to reclaim your creativity and practice creative self-care with weekly small art prompts that can be done in an art journal or on paper if you don't have one. I would encourage you, if you don't have an art journal, that you at least collect your Better with Art in a folder, because one of the benefits of art journaling is the freedom to express yourself and experiment without fear of what others think. The only tool I am starting out with this week is a fine tip pen. You can use any type of pen or pencil that you have. And there is an option to add other art materials later, and if you're going to use something like watercolor, you will need to use a water-resistant one. Links to my top recommended art journal, if you are ready to invest in one, and various pens I have used and found work well, will be linked in the description. So this week, with only one official tool, we are combining two types of small art we have done in the past, and changing up one a little bit. We're starting with single line drawing, and I know it's not the most comfortable for some people. And also, to make the single line drawing more interesting, you can hold, of course now I don't have a single line, but you can hold your pen in a way that that's not typical for you, and be sort of looser and more abstract with your lines to create another aspect. It does give a fun look. Again, in our art journaling, one of the things that it encourages us to do is let go of whatever concept of good we have stuck in our head, or perfect, and just enjoy creating for creating's sake. I'll add some more of my leaves. So you sort of push the pen, and again, it's not a habit I usually use. You can create more of these fun, I don't know, what would be a good adjective for these type of lines. I just think I like going around the petals more than the way I was just trying. As you will notice, I'm accentuating the difference in the lines in my stem, and I will link to the Instagram reel that inspires doing it like that. So in interest of transparency, honesty, I'm not thrilled with how this came out, because I sort of locked myself into the blockiness. Next, we will do some neurographic softening of where lines cross. We won't do every single spot, in part because I went over my lines more often than is convenient for that. How would you word that? I guess convenient works. But that's okay. So I think I will use it as a way to highlight the insides of petals. So yeah, that's different than what I'm going for now, but that's part of what convinced me to do it this way. If you want your neurographic to be a little easier, you can rein yourself in on your line work. This is kind of fun. I'm kind of not following my sort of rules of neurographic art, but again, in art journaling, there are no rules. There can be tips and suggestions. We can learn about various techniques together. But yes, this isn't quite what I was going for, and that's okay. Another thing we can add in is when we have done other line type things, adding designs inside of areas. Of course, as I'm doing this, I have a vague impression of the reel I saw. So as I mentioned, with watercolors, an option now, you could add a little bit of watercolor wash to your flowers or leaves. You can add more features to your shapes. You can do whatever feels good in the time you have. Projects like this are convenient because you can, if all you have time is to just quickly do a single line drawing, then just quickly do a single line drawing. If you have more time, you can add as many embellishments as you would like. You can get out other art supplies. So like in the past, if I would do something like a single line drawing, it would feel kind of wrong to be adding details that aren't single line drawing. Yeah, if you struggle with that, I don't know, it felt like cheating, but this isn't just a single line drawing. And I have a few more minutes before I need to get ready for work, so I'll play. And the more we can get into sort of repetitive mark making, the easier it is to enter into a flow state, where all that other stuff just vanishes away. All all that loud busyness in our minds just recede into the pleasure of making. So I'm using the lines I made and neurographicing them. Again, this is so therapeutically relaxing. Not sure. And you don't have to embellish just your plant. You can add little things however you would like, wherever you would like. I like this. It kind of looks like there are other little flowery plants or interesting grasses growing. Our little abstract flower garden. Have fun, relax, focus on the process over the product. Because that's what my simple form of art journaling is all about. Using our natural wiring for creativity as helpful self-care. Apparently these little dots are kind of addicting. This is fun. I like this. Okay. If you are interested in adding watercolor, I will add a little. Well, even if you're not, I'm adding a little. Just now remembering my watercolor brushes are packed. That's okay. There's a fun little set someone picked up for me on sale at an art shop. Fun. And my watercolor hack, of course. Don't know if it's really a hack, but use a spray bottle to wet your paint. And this wasn't quite thinking through adding the watercolor, even though I had it as an idea. I didn't fill my water cup, so I can improvise. let's reconstitute what was left up here. It looks like it was a little bit of red and orange blended together. This is quite watery, which will give a nice wash effect. Some delicate color. Usually when I use my Crayola watercolors, I'm taking full advantage of how bold they can be. But that's not today's look. Well, it can't be for yours, but it's not my look today. And I lost a bristle. I think instead of just using, it is rather a violent green, I will tone it down. First I was thinking I added some blue to make it blue-green. There's black, but so we'll revisit a complementary color, toning down its complement, so to speak. Red and green are complementary colors, and when you blend them together up to a point, they cancel each other out. So I went a little too far with the red compared to the green. So I did make a brown, which happens. So I'm going to add a little more green. And more water, because I'm going for a more, well, watercolor effect. Probably should have my water and paint on the same side of my work, but now, would you be able to guess that this was made with Crayola watercolors, basic 8. Color mixing is so much fun. I'll have to decide what I want to do with my stems. Well, stems are typically about the same color as their leaves. So as much of this project, the aspects of this project, you have time for, enjoy. It's also something you could start and come back to. And I should have let that leaf dry before I tried to do that stem there, so they didn't run together. But I started to say live and learn, but that's something I've already learned, you could say, but obviously haven't learned it. That's okay. Relax, have fun. Take the time you have. Come back to it if you have the freedom to do that. Shop towels are a great tool to have. And yes, wet watercolors will run into each other. And if I want to dial this one back so this leaf isn't so much darker than the others, so I added more water and I can blot that up. If I want to be sure my stem won't bleed, I could let it dry a little more, but I think I'll go ahead I can be stubborn and I can rush things. Let's see. Again, since I'm going for something a little more muted, instead of just adding water, I think I'll try just a little bit of orange, the complement of blue, to create a more muted tone. This is very yellowy orange. Well, let's see how it looks. It's interesting. And again, I recommend the Crayola Basic 8 for this form of art journaling because it's inexpensive and it has some vivid colors, and color mixing is so much fun. And you can learn a lot by mixing with these maybe slightly over vibrant 8 colors. They're also not grainy like some of the other inexpensive brands that I have tried. And I appreciate that. Gritty. Yeah, some are just really gritty and I really don't like that. But do remember to always let your watercolors, whatever they are, completely dry before you close them to preserve them. I think I'll use a little less water. Maybe add some yellow. That is, yeah, that's really bright. So let's tone down, well, it's hard to say let's tone down the yellow with some purple, but you can also use this reddish orangey color. I have orangey reddish. I can use what I have left from my other flowers. That's quite pretty. Need some more water because it won't go very far. Let's see. Tone you down a bit. So I am very happy I decided to throw in some watercolor here. My original plan was just to put some on, some petals as a representation of what could be done. But I found this another lovely, relaxing, flow-inducing step. And if you'd like to get more out of the neurographic portion, you can not go over all of your lines so many times as I did. If you are feeling inspired to make your own art, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Kind comments are always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe. All of these things do help show YouTube that I'm relevant, which helps me reach more people who need to reclaim their creativity and practice self-care. If there's someone you know who needs a reminder that taking time for art is not a waste of time, that we are wired for creativity, made in the image of the Creator, and when we are not exercising our creativity in ways we find meaningful and enjoy, we are not as healthy as we could be. Feel free to share. If you would like to be part of a small but growing community of individuals practicing creative self-care with art making, there will be a link in the description to sign up for what are supposed to be weekly emails, but I am, well, struggling to keep up with life and way behind. So no more than weekly emails from me, and a link to join the private Better with Art Facebook group. I would love to be able to further encourage you there. I will be back next week with another small art prompt. I'm getting back on track with my outside art journal art videos on Wednesdays. Thank you for the opportunity to remind you that taking time for art is not a waste of time, and encourage you to take some time to practice creative self-care with art making this week. Make art, friend, because we are better with art.